Well, this is probably one of the weirder videos I have done because we are back playing NTE today, except instead of playing this on a controller or a keyboard and mouse like I normally would, I am playing this on a full sim racing rig. And I don't just mean like one of those cheap wheels attached to a desk, I mean like a full shifter, pedals, wheel, handbrake, racing seat, the whole thing. And you do not want to know how much effort it took to set this up, but we are at the moment driving with a proper wheel and handbrake and all that stuff. But I want to go around today and do some of the races with a wheel setup and try to see if I can drive properly with a wheel. Now, the only issue with this wheel is while it is great while I'm actually driving the car, my accelerator is accelerator, brake is the brake, obviously wheel is steering, and my handbrake or my rig is an actual handbrake in the game, it all kind of falls apart once I try to get out of the car. Because if I want to go do this race over here, if we were to hop out of the car, I am not touching anything right now and we are walking. The only way for me to do this is to very lightly feather the accelerator pedal, because that is rigged up to our movements, I guess, and then very lightly use the steering wheel to turn, and it is incredibly scuffed. But I mean, it technically works, and while I normally would just be able to use like a mix of my keyboard and mouse, for some odd reason, the accelerator is just always on, or something's always on, so it always wants to be running off the wheel, so I can't really use the keyboard and mouse super well while I'm doing this, which I must admit does make it slightly difficult. Okay, so we can't do that race because that race requires a supercar. Okay, let me try to find another race. I have spent a little bit of time just driving around the city to get used to doing this with a wheel. And I must say, it is actually really fun for driving. Be able to drive around with a wheel in this game is actually really fun. I would love it if they actually added wheel support properly to the game, because at the moment they don't. So having proper wheel support with like force feedback and everything would be so cool. You don't like need a good wheel because it's not a sim racing game. So if you wanted to play this game with a wheel, you could just buy a cheap wheel if you wanted, and it wouldn't really make too much of a difference. So I think a wheel option would be a really cool addition to the game. I don't imagine they would probably ever add it, but I have seen a few people wanting it, so maybe they will. Hey, okay, first race. Let's go. That only took me like 10 minutes to get to the race, because walking around is impossible. But now we get to see what this is like in a proper race with a wheel. Now, I would imagine this should be pretty easy because all the races are easy, but there is a slight bit of added difficulty using a wheel because, you know, the game's not really built for it. And you end up doing things like that. But hey, I guess I'll get used to it. I have put enough time into driving with a wheel and doing sim racing games, so I'll get used to it eventually. The drifting with a wheel feels incredible. It is one of the best feeling things in the game, because the drifting already felt pretty fun with a controller, but it is a whole nother level of fun with a wheel, because you can adjust like how much it drifts, because I have much more degrees of rotation in my steering wheel compared to the controller, because the controller you obviously either have all the way left or all the way right. With the steering wheel I have a lot more room to work with, so I can make really small adjustments. So when I drift, I'll probably be able to show you this in the next race. I can either drift a little bit by only turning the wheel a little bit, or if I want to go into a massive drift and throw it sideways, I could turn the wheel a lot and I could do massive drifts, which makes it really, really fun compared to just the normal controller drifting where you're always doing massive drifts. Here we go. Here's a corner. We'll do small turn on this corner. There we go. That was just a little turn of the steering wheel, maybe like 90 degrees. Then we'll do a big turn to this corner. And we'll do a big drift and crash because I did it too early. But you see what I mean? You can do like small angle on the drift or big drift angle just by turning the wheel more. It makes it so fun to just drive around and do drifts. It would be more fun with a car that drifts a little bit better because admittedly this thing doesn't drift great. I probably will get around to buying the A86 and building that up into a drift car. I'd imagine I could drift that a little bit better, and we are not going to win this at all because I crashed multiple times. We'll get first, I reckon. There we go, first place. Don't imagine we're going to get far enough into the lead, though, to get these other stars. No, we're not. Because I believe it wants us to finish 100 meters ahead. Yes, it does. So we will restart it. I would also really like to have this set up where I could use a wheel cam and I could actually show you me driving on the wheel. But with where my sim rig is located compared to my PC, I don't think there's any way I could get a camera hooked up and run the cable to the computer to make it work with OBS. There's also, I believe, no way I could set up a camera without just face revealing because of, once again, how my sim rig is set up. So fortunately, there isn't a wheel cam for this, but maybe if I can figure out a way to get it to work, I might do one in the future. If I decide to do another one of these videos, which honestly, I probably won't because of how much of a pain it is to set up this wheel. Okay, on to race number 3 now. First 2 races have gone pretty well, but once again, this game has pretty easy racing. You know what, for the added difficulty, we'll jump into first person because it looks a bit cooler. It also seems like the competitors' cars are substantially quicker now, so I might need to think about upgrading my car or buying a new car sooner than I thought. We will still most likely, by looks of things, be able to beat at least this race or this race location, but it is definitely getting a little bit trickier. I mean, to be fair, this car is bone stock engine-wise. I haven't done any power upgrades, so I might do that potentially, just so I can have a bit of a better chance at beating this. But I would really, really like to buy the Porsche. And as driving is one of the main reasons I want to play this game, I kind of feel like buying cars is something I want to do more than trying to save up the funds for tycoon levels. But I'm pretty sure I need like 1,000,000 funds to buy the Porsche, which would be the next car I'd look at getting. But I'd also want to have more than 1,000,000 funds because I would want to upgrade that car as well. Because yeah, this thing's really slow. When we go up hills, we just gain no speed, and we top out at, I believe it's 131 k's an hour, which is not very fast. It's fast enough to beat the other competitors, but not fast enough to actually make this super enjoyable, because you spend so much time sitting here, max RPM, and barely moving. But hey, that is still enough for us to get all the stars we need to do this with a different car. The Movus M1000 is the Mini. I don't really like that, and I don't really want to do the race in that. Oh, I only have 188,000. Okay, so I guess I will just do more of these races. I guess if we have to complete it with a specific car, I just miss out on that because I currently don't have enough to buy any better cars. And even if I can buy them, I can't really upgrade them, and I kind of want to do that. So let's just jump to the next race and we'll go from there. We only have, I believe, 2 more stages left of this race, and then we move on to the next one. I literally don't even have hands on the wheel right now. I'm just driving. That is another thing, though, actually, with this thing using a steering wheel. This game, because it doesn't obviously support a steering wheel, doesn't have any form of force feedback, which is what makes the wheel react like a steering wheel. So in a normal car, if I was to do a drift like here, the wheel would like correct itself. It'd move on its own. But because this game doesn't have wheel support, I don't have that. It doesn't move on its own, which means drifting can be a little bit painful because I have to physically spin the wheel to initiate the drift and then also counter steer the drift. And it's just kind of painful. Now, these last 2 that we just did, we can't do because they require you to get the Mini, finish with over a 50-meter lead from second place, and finish the race in under 150 seconds. That's probably going to be the easiest of the bunch, because I don't even need 100 meters ahead of second place. I just need 50. So unless the difficulty's ramped up a bunch and they're going to be really good drivers, this shouldn't be too bad. Now, the only worry I'm going to have is finishing within the 150 seconds, which shouldn't be too bad. We do have 2 laps of this. 150 seconds is like 2.5 minutes, but I will need to keep an eye on the time and make sure I don't crash, because that will screw us up. And I believe that's actually why I failed the last stage of the race I did in my last video, is because I crashed and I didn't finish it in time. So we could actually go back and finish that off, which I might do now that I think about it, because I have cleared every other stage in that race. I just crashed on the last lap and didn't get all the stars for that, so I might go back and do that one again and not crash. The opponents definitely are getting slightly better, because normally by now I would be like 400 meters ahead of them and I'm only 150. So we are getting slightly better opponents, but not really that much better, to be fair. I think what they could really do for this game and make it really fun is to have, like you do with other games, the end game combat stuff. Like, you know, your Spiral Abyss and Power of Adversity and that sort of stuff. I don't know what that equivalent is in this game, but I reckon they should have that kind of thing, but for racing. For the people who are good at racing or want to try to have more of a challenge, you can have a like more challenging racing mode. And I think that would be really fun. I don't think they'll add it in, but I think it would be a really fun addition. So now that is that race location entirely cleared. We are missing just 1 of the rewards from that, which is the total of 18 stars, or flags, I guess, because we can't get those 2 because I need the Mini. But we can go and do this race, the first one. So I'm only 1 star short on that one, and I only messed up the very last race. let's go to that race location and finish that race off entirely. Although it's raining now, which is very painful because the rain physics in this game are slightly too good. And you will very easily slide out on drifts when it's raining. But hey, that just adds more of a challenge, which I am entirely fine with. Now this one I just screwed up massively when I first did it. So as long as I don't do that, we should be fine. And I have got pretty comfy using the full sim rig at the moment. So I would say this should be pretty easy. Although it is raining, which does make it slightly more challenging. But it shouldn't be too bad. We are already in first place. Except I'm not, because this dude is pushing me off the track. Gonna start doing some spec Miata racing. And there we go, into first place. And just hold on to it for the rest of the race and don't crash. And I should finish this with enough time. We do also need to finish 100 meters ahead of the other cars. But once again, that's not really the biggest issue because they take some weird line choices and brake way too easy. Which is actually something I should mention for anyone struggling with the racing at the moment. Do not follow this line. Also don't do that. But this line you see on the ground, the racing line, it's not really the best racing line. I mean, it is if you were doing this in a sim racing game. It's actually a pretty accurate racing line. There are some sections that for some reason go out wide like there. We don't really need to. But for the most part, the corners are relatively accurate. You know, start outside, hit the apex, go back outside. It's relatively accurate. But there are some areas where you just do not need to turn at all and it tells you to turn. Or for some of the sharper corners, it tells you to sort of go around, hit the apex, but 9 times out of 10, you can just do that and you'll go a lot quicker. So there we go, finishing hopefully 3.5 minutes. If it's 3 minutes 20, I screwed it up again. It's 3 minutes 20, isn't it? Oh, well, looks like I've got to do it again. I did crash twice, so that is to be expected. And we do actually only need to be 50 meters ahead in this race as well. They must make it for the last race of each location. You only need to be 50 meters ahead, but you just have to finish it in a certain time limit, which really, I screwed it up again. I probably should just restart. Yeah, you know what? I am just going to restart. But really, we've had the AI cars drive. If you're finishing the race in the right time limit, you are almost guaranteed to be over 50 meters ahead of them. So they might as well just leave it as 100 meters. Okay, let's go. Third time's a charm. Let's not mess this up and crash immediately. It's not raining anymore, so that should make it a little bit easier. It is now fully nighttime, but I honestly kind of rather racing at night. We'll set up nice and wide out on the outside here, give us a good line, and just flat out through that corner. There we go. Oh, okay, we're good. Sort of crashed, but not enough to really slow our momentum down a ton, so we are fine. You know, I definitely really want to do an engine upgrade to this car, but I don't think it's worth it because I only have 100 and I'll probably have 200,000 bonds at the end of this. I don't think it's worth putting that into this car. I think I'm better off just doing some more of the city tycoon stuff, leveling that up a bunch until I have enough to get the Porsche or one of the hypercars. I don't think at the moment it's worth trying to make this car super fast with how little funds I have. So I'll probably just work on leveling up that city tycoon to, I'm gonna say at least level 20 before I think about trying to get another car. I'll have to see, but I'd like to have at least 2 or 3 million funds before I look at buying a 1.5 million funds car. Okay, 5th time's the charm. I'm doing this until I get it, so we could be here for like another one try. This could be it. Or I could be here for another hour. I think the reason I'm screwing it up is because the corners are like a mix of you want to slide through them, but you also don't want to slide through them. And because I absolutely refuse to hit the brake pedal, I'm either sliding too much through the corners and going too early and then hitting stuff, or I'm not sliding enough through the corners and then going wide and hitting stuff. But that was an absolutely gorgeous first corner. This has definitely been the best start so far. So now I've just got to not mess it up. Now that I've said that, I probably will. There we go. That's the play. We got to go much later with the handbrake on that corner. I think that's the play with everything. Is you've just got to go a lot later on the handbrake because when you drift, it really drifts pretty much immediately. It's not like it sort of slides a little bit before you start turning it into the corner. It'll just drift and go around the corner immediately. So you want to start that drift a lot later than I would normally start a drift in any other racing game. I'm also only doing 130 Ks, which normally if you're drifting flat out into a corner, you would be going faster, which is why you'd be able to pull the handbrake and start initiating the drift earlier. But so far so good, 2 minutes 30. I need to stop saying so far so good because every other time I've said that I've crashed. But I know the strategy now for these last 2 corners. So hopefully we can do a good job. Much later on the handbrake. Beautiful. 3 minutes. We have 20 seconds left. Last corner. Later on the handbrake. Oh, lovely corner. And there we go. That should be enough time. And hopefully that was 3 minutes 20. Yes, it was. Perfect. That is that race location fully completed. We cannot do this one yet because I need to have the mini. And this full throttle one, I'm assuming I want to have the 86. It doesn't look like I do need the 86 for this one. Okay. Well, there are those 2 races done. We did a full race at one location and we completed the full stars at the other. I am probably going to leave it there because I would like to get this car a little bit more modified before I go and do any other races or buy a better car because it is quite slow. And while I still can clear them, it's more enjoyable to do it in a faster car. So I kind of want to get a faster car before I work in any more of the races. And I also have a few other videos I need to go and record. This was sort of just something I decided to do that would be kind of fun while I had my sim rig set up. So with that being said, that is where I'm going to leave this off. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you like this video, I'm also going to be doing my first live stream, debuting my VTuber model and playing Forza Horizon 6 the day it releases on the 15th. So I would really appreciate it if you do go check that out. The full details will be in a community post that I should have posted by the time you see this video. But with that being said, do consider subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next one. Good. Bye.